Okay, 10 o'clock Eastern time, it's Apex office hours. We're live from, I'm from Florida. We have other members of the Apex team from around the world on this call today. Today is part 2, What's New in Oracle Apex 23.1. I'm your host today. I'm Jason Haynes. I'm a Senior Principal Product Manager for Oracle Apex, and we're going to go ahead and get started with our content. So this is a 4-part series for what's new in Apex 23.1. Last week, we joined Mark Seitz, where he was telling us all about a bunch of new features as an overview of Apex 23.1 and the release preview that is currently on apex.oracle.com today. That recording will be available very soon. So that was last week. And today, this is part 2. And our special guests in presenting their content are Vincent, Andreea, and Zsolt. Next week, however, that's part 3, we'll have Morneau, Paige, and Dahlia. And then in 2 weeks' time, we'll have part 4 with Karsten and Peter. So for more information there, go to apex.oracle.com/office hours and subscribe. So upcoming events, May 4th and 11th, as I just mentioned, are Apex office hours and the continuation of what's new in 23.1. On May 18th, however, we have Apex office hours JPAC. That's Japan, Asian Pacific, titled Solving Integration Challenges. So there are links here for each one, so please follow up with those if you wish to subscribe and get reminders. On May 25th, we have Apex in Spanish, something about plugins, introduction of plugins, right? June 12th, we're going to do Apex in Romanian, where they're going to talk about forms. I don't know what the rest of that means, but it looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. So please join us if that makes some sense to you and it'd be of some interest. But it's going to be great to have more members of the Apex team from around the world participate in doing these events live. And they're all recorded and they can be reviewed at apex.oracle.com/office hours after they are published. Coming up, we have some more conferences still. May 3rd and 4th, we have Apex Connect in Berlin, Germany. And then here in Tampa, or here in Florida, it's actually Orlando, June 11th through 14th, we have the Ascend 23 conference. Something else that we're really excited about is in 2 months' time is the Kscope 23. And for the first time, we're going to be offering the Apex Bootcamp in Colorado, USA. It'd be really nice if we could see you all there. I know we can't have everyone that joins these calls to come in person, but this is going to be a live in-person event, and this Apex Bootcamp is going to be something really special because several of the members of the Apex core development team are going to be there presenting different content and also being mentors and teaching some content in the Apex Bootcamp itself. So please visit that link at kscope23.odtug.com to learn more about both Kscope and the regular sessions as well as Apex Bootcamp. And you can actually register to do both. So today, part 2 in what's new in Oracle Apex 23.1, we're going to talk about push notifications and PWA updates, talk about Apex Administrator Digest, saving and running from the code editor, and how to copy pages from the create page. So this is going to be a pretty in-depth little overview of some of these new features. And to start us off today, it's going to be Vincent with push notifications and PW updates. And Vincent's got a lot of great content to kick off. And if you have questions, please use the Q&A so that we have an opportunity to carefully answer your question and make sure that you're satisfied. If you have anything else to talk about, please share it in the chat. And from there, let's go ahead and get started, Vincent. I'll stop sharing so you can begin to share.
Hey, everybody. Thanks, Jason. So my name is Vincent. I'm the lead developer for the PWA features in Apex. Welcome to my new office. It's newly decorated. I'm super excited. It just so happened that today, the first day that I'm live talking to people on this office hours, I also have a lot of people outside working and renovating the house. So if you hear any noise, I'm sorry, there's nothing I can do. So let's dive in. Today, I want to talk about PWA in Apex 23.1. And I'm really, really excited about this release because I think it's the most impactful and interesting release since we actually made PWA declarative in Apex. So we're introducing one main feature, which is push notification. And we'll go all over what it means for Apex users and how to use this feature in your own apps. There's also a tiny bit of new, smaller features that I want to cover first, so it's not completely obliterated by the push notification overview. All right, so let's let me share my screen. And I know this is going to be small. I guarantee this is only going to take a minute. And then the other demos should be much more interesting to look at. So in preparation for this office hours, we've completely rewritten the PWA sample app, reference app. So if you go to apex.oracle.com/PWA, you will find this new updated reference application, which contains a new series of screenshots, better instructions, and better explanation of all the features that Apex offers related to PWA. And we've paid special attention to the push notification feature, which should contain everything you need to know to implement this feature into your own application. So make sure to go to apex.oracle.com/PWA to learn all about the PWA features. So if we go directly to the roadmap section, what we will find is that there is the roadmap of the things that we're considering ahead and the features that are part of Apex 23.1. So today we're going to be covering push notifications and how the application icons now have improved fidelity. So that's where I want to start, because that's a small but very nice feature. So what I'm going to do is go to this application which I've created before called Old App Icon. And if we log into this application and install it, what we'll find here, if you see my the macOS dock, is that you'll see this big square icon. And now what we've done in Apex 23.1 is that for all, let's close this. Now let's install the new app icon for Apex 23.1. And now what you'll see is this much nicer looking, closer to the design that macOS provides. So let's actually compare both, right? Now look at the old icon, how ugly it looks. And now it looks much better, it's cleaner, it's according to how the operating system wants it to look. And we've paid special attention so that it looks good on all device types. So that's a small but very nice feature that I think will make a lot of people happy. Now let's get out of here and focus in on push notifications. So today I will be creating a new application, push notification, enabling the feature. I'll go through the whole subscription mechanism, and then we're going to be sending notifications to this device. So as you create new applications in Apex 23.1, you'll see that we've added yet another useful features to the list of feature. So we're trying to make these features a little bit more interesting, a little bit more useful. So if you want to get started really quick with push notifications, just create a new app, call it anything you want. Let's call it push time. We'll give it a nice icon here and save this. And by checking the push notifications checkbox, it's going to enable and create all the objects that are necessary for making push work in your application. So now we create the application. And I think what I want to do now is actually use a device that is meant to receive push notifications. So let's move out of my desktop now, and I'll be sharing an iPad that I've got next to me. So here you should be seeing my iPad, and I'll be logging into this new application that we've created, called Push Time. And let's log in. So what I want to highlight here is that when designing the push notification feature in Apex, we've been very careful not to spam users. It is incredibly annoying when you go to a web page and the first thing you see is this prompt. Do you want to receive push notifications? So we didn't really want to do that. So what Apex is offering is an intuitive flow for registering and subscribing to push notifications. So what users can do when going to these pages? Well, first of all, on iOS, you have to install the app. That's a requirement. If you want to receive push on iOS, you have to install it. That is not true on other devices like desktop or Android, but for iOS, you have to. So let's actually install this app, follow the steps, add it. And now I have my app called Push Time here and log in full screen. So the flow that Apex is offering is now we're leveraging the menu in the top right in the navigation bar. And if you tap this, then you'll see a new settings menu that has been created with the push notification feature. So when you open the settings menu, what you'll see is potentially a list of settings. So in the future, we might be adding more things to this list. But for now, the only feature we have enabled is push notifications. So it's the only setting we have to offer. And now I see that basic information about my user and a list entry for push notifications. And there's even a hint to tell me if it's been enabled or not. So it's obviously off right now. I can tap on this and enable push notification on this device. Now, because this is the first time the browser in the operating system need to be authorized for this. So I will allow it. And now we can go back. And we see that push notifications are enabled on this device. If you have to understand that you can have a single user connecting to the same application on many different devices, and the push subscription is unique to the device. So there's a concept that we're tracking to identify a user and the device. So you should be aware that there are views you can leverage to see connections and relations between users and applications and devices. All right. So now this application is ready to receive push notifications from the backend. And if you follow this feature for a while, you've probably seen other implementations using Firebase and other third-party systems. Now there's nothing like this. It is completely baked into Apex. You have a native page process to send you a push notification. So let's actually head there. Let's go back to Apex here and see how I've got this other application which has all the built-in components already. So there are two ways that you can send a push notification. The first one is by using a new process type called send push notification. And then you provide the app user a title and a body to send and a link target for where the page should be open to. You can also use the invoke API process type and then pick the Apex PWA API and send a push notification. And from there, you have more flexibility to choose which application, which user, and even which icon to send with the push notification. Just like Apex Mail, the push notification has a queue. So you can push the queue to expedite your messages. Otherwise, there's a background job that will trigger push notifications every 2 minutes. I'm going to be demoing this in just a little bit, but what if your app, you have an existing app that don't have push notification and you want to enable it, because it's very easy when you create a new app, but what about an existing app? So for existing apps, let's head to this application called No Push. So if you want to enable this feature in your own existing app, you would go to Shared Components, Progressive Web App, and then there's a brand new section for push notifications. And you can simply enable this switch. And there's additional settings you need to be aware of. So push notifications require a credentials. This is incredibly important for security, to identify securely an application and the push endpoint. So we give the opportunity to choose from an existing credentials in your list, or if you want to create a brand new credentials, you can just tap on generate credentials. It will do it automatically for you. And the other attribute you need to be aware of is the setting page. So those drawers you saw on the iPad is actually two Apex pages, one for the user settings and the other for the push notification checkbox. Those settings pages can be created automatically by simply tapping on Add Setting Page. So we've tried to make it as simple as possible. It's not technically a switch. You have to enable those three things, but it should be fairly straightforward. And then your application should be good to go. All right. So now let's make this a little bit more interactive. So I've created this application called Join the Push. And there's a QR code, which I invite people to scan. Don't fill in the content just yet. Let me finish the explanation. So please go to this site using the QR code. You will be redirected to this one page. And what I want to do now is switch to my iPad and show you how this application will receive your own push notifications. So you will be talking to me. You will be sending this content to my iPad. You can pick a title, pick a body for the notification, and then pick an icon. So I'll give a few more seconds for people to scan this QR code. I've set a limit of 10 notifications that I can receive. So hopefully you'll be able to see this. Now let's move on to my iPad. All right, so there we go. And now I look at my notifications. Come on, keep them coming. There's only 4. I want to see more. In the context of iOS or iPadOS notifications, you are receiving notifications from your installed app. So the icon has to be the same from your application icon. On other platforms like Android or on your desktop, you have more flexibility and you can actually choose the icon. Oh, here's another one from Chris. And okay, now it's asking me, should I temporarily mute? Okay, I've got a bunch of them. Wow. Okay, that's awesome. That's exactly what I wanted. That's great. Before I move on, I'll be using my other device. I've got an Android device connected here. So let me change, which was also subscribed to the same app, receiving the same notifications. So this is just to show that I can receive the same stuff from 2 different devices. But what's kind of nice on Android is that you see the automatic badging on your app icon, and also you can customize the icon that are shown when you receive the notification. So whatever you picked in the QR code page, now it's showing here. So I think this is just very nice. So if you have a little check mark or an X or something, or whatever you want to put in there to send to your users, you can customize the icon and it looks very nice. All right, the application was called Push Me. That's not, it's really specific to my application name. You can name it whatever you want, but this is highly flexible. And I have set a limit of 10 notification. That's why I'm not receiving anymore. I didn't want to be spam anymore, but I think that made the point.
During this transition, Vincent, before you continue, Jürgen actually raises a good point in the Q&A in the fact that this is not limited to mobile devices. This will also work on desktop devices, and you don't need special security internet settings for it. If you can get to the internet, you should be able to receive push notifications on your desktop as well if you've enabled notifications from that particular app.
That's right. That's a great point. I think we have to make it clear that this is not a mobile feature. This is an all-device feature. If you go back to apex.oracle.com/pwa and read about the feature, we hope it's clear enough. It's about bringing real-time communication between Apex applications and all users. So we've provided examples of desktop, phones. I've done the iPad here. And also, I've recently purchased an Apple Watch, and it's so nice to be able to receive Apex push notifications on your watch. I mean, I just love it. All right, what else is there in here? I think I've covered all the basics. This section is kind of useful because it allows you as a developer to monitor who has subscribed to your application. So you can only send notifications to subscribers, right? So we've exposed this view, Apex application push subscriptions, which will allow you to query the users that have subscribed. So you can only send and trigger the process for subscribers. So you're not spending unnecessary resources on sending to people who haven't subscribed. There's also this push queue view, which you can monitor. It contains information on the push notifications that are still in the queue pending to be sent, or also if there was ever an error in the process. You know, there's also the proxy errors that can happen or timeout. If something happens, it will be in there in the queue. So we've covered that you can use the native page process to do this. This is the declarative no-code option for notification. Or if you want a little bit more flexibility, just use the API, Apex_PWAs. There are more procedures in there. You can read about them when the documentation is out, but this is the most interesting one, which sends notification. It allows you to customize the icon and a target URL. And finally, you can push queue. I think that covers pretty much everything I have. We'll be listening to the issues you have or your comments. And if there's any clarification we can make, it will probably go in that application in that one specific page so that it's easy for everyone to stay connected and learn more about push notifications. So that's it for me. I'll stay for questions.
Hey, really quick, Vincent, I think we'll move all the other questions on PWA and push towards the end after the other presenters have had a chance to talk about their features. But one thing I want to clear up is with push notifications, they count against the web requests of your instance limit or your workspace limit. So web requests do get counted against for, is it every notification that goes out, not per user, right? Like if I do a query like you were demonstrating and it's out, each individual notification counts against that, right?
That's right. And each notifications being sent counts as part of the web service limit on your workspace. So that's something to be considered as an administrator. And that's not a bad design decision that we made. That this is the only way to do this from an Apex standpoint, and taking data from the Oracle database and contacting a third-party provider like Google or Apple or Microsoft. Okay. So that's the only way to do it. You should be aware that it's part of the web service limit on the workspace.
And the other dovetail question to that is the app does not have to be open on the device to receive those notifications, right? Once you've acknowledged that you want to receive notifications, you don't even have to have the PWA installed for your operating system or device to receive these notifications for the app, correct?
Almost correct. You don't have to be on the app to receive notifications. You can have the device idle or working on a different app at the same time. Doesn't matter. It's sending the notification to the operating system. The only limitation is that if you're using this on iOS like I did on the iPad, notifications will only be sent if the application is installed. So it will not work from the browser. It needs to be installed. Some people learn this the hard way. We'll try to make it clear on the reference app as much as possible.
All right, great. Thank you, Vincent. So that was Vincent talking about push notifications and PWA updates in Apex 23.1, currently available on apex.oracle.com in the pre-release. So up next, we're going to be talking with Andreea, talking about the Apex Administrator Digest features. And the other questions that are in the Q&A that are going to be answered live will come at the very end. Thank you. Over to you, Andreea.
Thank you, Jason. Hi, everyone. I'm Andreea. I'm based in Cluj-Napoca, Romania. And thank you for joining today's session. My piece of cake today is talking about the Apex Administrator Digest, which is a new feature for the 23.1. And it could bring a lot of joy especially for instance administrators. Okay, so let's jump into the feature. For anyone that has access to the internal workspace, or to be more specific to the Apex Administrator Services application, there is where the Administrator Digest resides, the new feature. And basically, it incorporates all types of dashboards and reporting that instance administrator might need in order to check to make, let's say, an analysis or to have an overview of their instance health. The Administrator Digest homepage, like I used to call it, it can be found in the monitor activity. Of course, if we go back to the main page, we can find it in here as well in the instance tasks. And it basically has three sections. So on the first one, we are talking about gathering metrics. We are gathering metrics at three levels: instance, workspace, and schema on a daily basis. All those reporting and dashboards that you're going to see will reflect the trend over a period of time, and the charts and visuals that you will see are based on the default reporting time frame, which can be set from the instance settings, and we will go in a short time there. The second section of this page is based on you already know the main structures for Apex, which are workspaces, applications, users, schemas, and so on. And the third one is to find out the top activity for our instance in terms of top workspaces, applications, and user. Okay, so the main feature has three controls. We are not able to edit anything. It's read-only purely. It has also some filtering options, we'll see. But the main three controls are stored in here in the instance settings. We have a new region called Administrator Digest, and we have three instance parameters that can be set up by any instance administrator. The first one, we are considering it as being the default reporting period. The default value for this is 7 days. So every chart you'll be seeing will have the default set for the last 7 days. you will see the trend over the last 7 days. The last day being yesterday, being the previous day. We have also the maximum reporting period, which is the default is set up to 30, but each and one of these instance parameters can be changed by you, of course. What does it mean? It means that we are keeping the metrics up for the last 30 days. Data older than 30 days will be just removed. And last but not least, we have the workspace free space limit, which is 10. This time it's a percentage. So for administrators that would like to know, okay, we have workspaces, how much usage do we have on the workspaces? We may have 95%, then it means that we will have 5% free space, and that workspace will be listed in our reports just to have an overview over on the workspaces that are closer to the limit. Okay, coming back to the home page, let's dig into those reporting, and then we will talk about the charts. So the instance metrics, what are we gathering at this moment in time? Well, we keep track of all the workspaces that were created on a daily basis. As I mentioned, we are tracking it, we are gathering them on a daily basis for each day, removed workspaces, and also how many database links do we have for that specific day. Additionally, for this instance metrics, we came up with an interesting report called events. So what we are gathering here, at the moment, we are storing the main workspace operations. So even if you are on premises or in the cloud, you can track when a workspace was created, by who, if they were using an API, if they were using the wizard, the UI, you are able to see what workspace was created by who, and then, of course, which workspace was removed, schema creation or removal, even restrict and unrestrict for the same schema, or maybe adding or removing a schema exception. This specific report is beneficial also for people that are having Apex on ADBs. So keep an eye open, because in the upcoming releases, we will be tracking also other type of events. So this is just the beginning. Okay. That's all for the instance metrics and events right now. If we go back to the Administrator Digest, we can just see the metrics for the workspace. That means for a certain workspace in yesterday, for example, we would gather everything related to user accounts, to distinct users, page events, and so on. Basically, we are incorporating here all types of activity logs. And another good news is that starting with 23.1, activity logs from the old schema, when you do the migration, the upgrade, activity logs from old schema will be moved to the new schema. That means you will not going to lose your activity logs anymore. And that means that those numbers will be available for you to check even after the upgrade, and when the metrics are will start to let's say include statistics for each day, you will see them in here. Just to give you an example for page events, a simple one, you can see here all the, let's say, activity that we had for that specific workspace. We can see also the errors that pop up and so on. The report itself is huge. It has a lot of data in it. You can customize it as you please. Just create several reports or just display or hide several of the columns. Otherwise, you have all the data you need in here, even data regarding the rendering time and some aggregations on it. the workspace size, and so on. So very helpful. Now, in order to not lose contact with the already existing pages that we have in the Apex administration services, we also have these workspace reports in here. So those were already existing pages, but we also have newly created pages that are part of the Administrator Digest. Those are the top workspaces. In here, we can track the activity, the main workspaces that were used over the last 7 days. We can also change this setting to set up for the last 30 days and maybe to have a top 10 of how many workspaces have been used in the last 30 days. Right? Okay. But as you may have seen already in the workspace metrics and here in the top workspaces, this workspace is a link behind the scene. So we can just move further, right? More granularity. That being said, we can have, let's say, workspace details. Again, the same information that you find in the workspace metrics report, you can find it in here as well, but the display is a bit different. But what is new right now is that, okay, maybe for the last 30 days, let's see what happens. Okay, for the last 30 days, you will see the activity for the workspace Monica in over page events, web service request sessions, and so on. So here we have 9 types of charts that can show you the main, the key instance, the key workspace metrics. Okay, but we have something very interesting in here. We have this item, display delta as percentage. Of course, delta is something that we have in here, which is the percentage. But what does it mean? If we uncheck it, you will see the number itself. This means the amount of page events that we had for Workspace Monica for the last 30 days. The second number means how many page events were in the last 30 days compared to the preceding 30 days. Right, so just to give you a time frame interval, so everything that's behind the 28th of March, that means 27th of March minus 30 days. It's the number of page events that took place in the preceding 30 days. Will be let's say will be the difference. So those are the page events from the 25th of February until the 28th of March minus the ones that are previously for the previous 30 days. Okay, next. So we've been talking about workspaces, right? On the Administrator Digest homepage, we also have another, let's say, information about workspaces. This is a simple one because here we are tracking the total amount of workspaces that were created and are still visible in our instance. But the default view here is not something that we can filter, right? So it's for the last 7 days, because this is the reporting period that we set up using the instance parameter. What we have in here are, let's say, one chart, but split it into 2, because on the first one, we are showing the total workspaces, but on the second one, we are showing only the workspaces created per day. And again, the number here means the difference between the total amount of workspaces minus the amount of workspaces that were created during the last 7 days. And the same calculation methods is used for the other charts as well. What's interesting in here is that for the user scheduler jobs, we are counting not only the jobs that we created at schema level using the DBMS scheduler API, but we are also considering the automations and resynchronizations. Cool. So the last part I would like to show you is the summary dashboard in here, where we have, let's say, most of the charts that you have seen at workspace level, but here we have it at let's say an upper layer for all the workspaces that are running on this Apex instance. So again, the default period is last 7 days. We can jump to last 60 days, and then the report will change. The chart will change for the last 60 days, the trend, and also the numbers. Delta means the same as on the other page. We also have in here, maybe you are interested in finding out how many errors did we have, or how many emails were sent, created, the ones that are still in the queue, the sent, and even if we had any errors for the emails so far. Last but not least, we have the option to customize, right? So even if we, let's say, we don't want to be to filter using a predefined option from here, but we would like to see a trend for, let's say, only 4 days. It's simple because right now the chart will change, the trend will be more visible, and we can just see perform a health check of our workspaces in a smaller time frame. So I mentioned about instance metrics, workspace metrics. We also have the summary dashboard and schema metrics, but this one is something that is not having any drill down options. It only shows you DB links, different aggregations for jobs, and we also track the minimum time interval between the jobs at the schema level. The same approaches for workspaces. We have similar workspace reports, the ones that we already we can already find on Apex Administration Services, and some new ones that came with this feature. Okay, I believe this concludes my my demo for today. If you have any questions, please post them in Q&A. Jason, if there are open questions for me to pick up now, otherwise
there are, but let's get Zsolt on with his content first. We'll circle back with the questions for time that's remaining. Thank you, Andrea, so much. This is so cool to be able to see all this data. I'm sure everyone's got a lot of questions and they can't wait to experiment with it themselves. Let me go ahead and just begin to share the screen really quick. So yes, everyone, that was Andrea. She was talking about the Apex Administrator Digest that's available from the Apex Administration screens, not from the workspace, right? This is only for internal workspace administrators of the actual instance itself. So there'll be more information available on all of this coming up soon. And even right now, there is still available information on apex.oracle.com in the What's New for 23.1. And of course, all these features, except for the internal administration features, can be reviewed by everyone today with the pre-release of Apex 23.1 on apex.oracle.com. And up next, we have Zsolt, who's going to talk about saving and running from the code editor and copying pages from Create Page. So welcome, Zsolt. Thank you very much for attending and showing us some of this work that you've done for us. We're very excited to have you. Off to you.
Thank you. Thank you. So hi, everyone. I'm Zsolt, and we will close this hour with something. After all these great and complex features, we will close this hour with something lighter, something easier to digest. Today, I will talk about two small application builder improvements, namely the copy pages from Create Page Wizard and the save and run from Code Editor. Both are pretty simple, and they do not introduce a new functionality. Instead, they improve the developer experience by saving a few clicks here and there. So let's dive into and get started with the copy pages from the Create Page Wizard. In my workspace, I have two applications installed. One of them is the sample cards, which I installed from the sample application gallery everyone has access to. And I also created another empty application just for this presentation. So in this sample cards app, we have this nice page where you can find these pretty cards with charts. And let's assume I'm in a situation where I want to use exactly the same page in another application. So how can I do that? How can I achieve to have this very same page in another application? Before this release, I would go to my target application, pick any page from the application homepage, and in the page designer toolbar, click on the plus sign to open up the menu and click on the page as copy entry to reach the copy page wizard eventually. That's fine, but maybe it feels like maybe you have to have like 2 more clicks to actually reach this wizard, and it's also a little bit hidden. So especially for someone who's new to Apex and does not really know the environment that good, can be quite challenging to actually be able to copy a page. And also on some level, it's a little bit unintuitive that you first have to go to a page you don't really want to modify just to be able to create or copy a page what you actually want to work with. And this is what this small improvement solves. So with Apex 23.1, you don't have to pick any page. You can do it directly from the application homepage. Just simply click on the create page button to open the create page wizard. And now you can see that in the dialog footer, we have this create page as copy link right next to the help button. And if I click on this link, it will immediately redirect me to the copy page wizard. And this is the very same wizard as we've seen just before. So yes, it is more prominent, it's easier to find, and just like it provides an easier access to the very same wizard. So, and as you can see, it is indeed the very same wizard. Probably it's not something that you as a developer would do every day, multiple times, but from now on, whenever you have to do it, you can do it faster and you can reach it simpler. Let me just go through this process. Maybe the other feature is something that you would use more frequently during your daily tasks as a developer, the save and run the page from the code editor dialog. As the name suggests, it is an improvement in the code editor dialogs in the page designer. So if I open up this dialog, now you can see that in the editor toolbars, we have this save and run page button next to the settings button. This button has almost the very same functionality as the save and run page button on the page designer, with an extra step when it comes to server-side. When it comes to server-side code, I will show that later, but first let me show you a few situations or just a few scenarios how this feature can help you. So before this release, if you edit any code, like in this case, if you edit HTML content in a property, then you would write your changes. I'm just going to write a simple text that hello from the office hour. And before this release, I would click on the OK button, and someone like just out of habit hits save and refresh the page, but I just hit save and run. My content will be saved and I can see that like my changes were here. That's fine. But like maybe I don't really like this layout, so I have to go back, look for my property, open up the dialog and do further changes. So let's say I want to make them just bold, not to H1 and also italic. And now I would have to click OK, save and run, and do the whole cycle again and again, which is not bad. But if you have to do it over and over and again, these small clicks really add up and just can easily and fast reduce your motivation and also your energy. So with 23.1, you can directly click on the save and run page button. The page will be saved. And as you can see, I am redirected. I can see my runtime, my window, my runtime tab. And as you can see, my content was updated. And this time, like this way, you only saved one click. But when I come back, I don't have to look for my property. I don't have to open up the dialog again. I can continue with the editing right away. And yeah, so those are few clicks, but there's also another advantage using this button or not closing the dialog is that you are still in the same editing context. And that means that I can also use the undo and redo actions. And that's pretty useful because I can easily switch states using these actions. I can trigger those either by these buttons in the toolbar, clicking redo and undo, or just using a keyboard shortcut, which is Command Z and Command Z Shift on Mac. So now I just switch between states, and I think only the strong would be enough. And I hit save and run page. You can see that it's indeed only just bold. So this is, as I mentioned, this is when it comes to client-side code. So if you're writing HTML, in this case, we are writing HTML, but it works the very same way if you have to edit JavaScript or CSS. And I mentioned that there's an extra step when it comes to server-side code. So let's take a look at the SQL query of this cards region. Let's say my task is that I want to narrow the result set to only show records with overspeed value higher than 10. How would I do it? I modify my content, and just as a best practice, I hit validation to make sure that when I click OK and save and run the page, that my page is actually functioning. But with this feature, you don't have to do it, because every time when you hit the save and run page button, the validation will be run if it is provided. So if I hit it here and I redirect it to my new page, to the other tab, I can be sure that my code is valid. And just to prove it, I can add another criteria to my where clause. So I can write that over speed less than 30 and make a mistake on purpose now. And if I hit save and run page, I get back my validation error. So that means my query is not correct, and just the fact that I am not redirected to my new tab and the content was not refreshed means that the saving action was terminated. But once I fix it, then I can hit the save and run page button again, and I can see that I indeed only see cards in that range I specified. So basically, that's the extra step it does. And just like another tip for a better development experience, maybe it only works if you have like a bigger screen, but I personally really like this layout, this split layout, that in one side I have the page designer, and the other had my runtime. And since I can use, if I hover over this button, I can see there's the keyboard shortcut. I can trigger the save and run page in my designer. So if I hit right now, I specify another range here and just hit this keyboard shortcut option F8, my page is saved and my focus is immediately on the other, on my runtime tab. And with another shortcut, based on the browser you are using, like Command backtick in Chrome, then I can put my focus back and keep editing, and I can do it over and over and again, basically without lifting my hands from the keyboard, which is pretty comfortable and beneficial can be if you have to do it over and over and again. So yes, that was my presentation. There's no real magic, but small.
Oh, it's magic.
And
it is magic, Zsolt. Thank you so much.
Hopefully it will make the experience.
Someone raised a point in the chat, though, that the save and run from a dialog should also respond to Control Enter. Can you say anything to that? You know how we can hit Control Enter in SQL commands? I think Control Enter is almost a natural fit from a keyboard.
Control Enter.
I don't know if it works yet. I'm just saying that they brought it up. I think it's kind of neat. I don't know if anyone agrees.
We will look into that definitely.
Okay. All right, so back to me sharing my screen. Thank you, Zsolt. That was a fantastic presentation of those new features. So Zsolt was just talking about the save and run from code editor button and the copy pages from create page link that is available now. So all these things contribute to the better experience being developers of Apex applications with greater features, obviously supporting better administration opportunities, and overall, you know, just a greater experience using Apex, not just as developers, but also as users, because a lot of this will translate into a better user experience. So there've been almost literally 100 questions in the Q&A. We have 87 that were answered. So if you haven't had a chance to review your answers to the questions you asked, please do so now. I think we're looking at a bunch of questions we might have an opportunity to discuss. Can we get Vincent and Andrea, could you get back on camera just for a moment? Let's just talk briefly in the last few minutes here. One thing that was asked, Andrea, I think that's important to clarify in the administrative features. Does logging have to be enabled on the production instance in order to see the digest?
No, so there are two different topics here. So the admin digest is visible once you install 23.1. The only difference is that for the metrics, we are using a job behind the scene on a daily basis. Okay. That job can be disabled if the instance administrator or DBA considers that this puts a lot of pressure on if it generates a high volume of data. But in any case, we already tested it on larger instances, so we can guarantee that this will work properly. So Apex login, it's something else. So we are gathering from the activity logs, automations, and all types of logins. But yeah, it's up to the customer to decide if they would like to use the administrator digest or not.
Okay. Well, great. Thank you for that answer. And in fact, in the time that we've been talking here, much of the questions have been answered thoroughly. There are a few other questions that are just a little deeper that we're not going to have time in this office hours session to talk about. But remember, we have another office hours session next week and the week after. So we've got more content coming for you. We thank you very much for attending this hour with us live. And I hope a lot of the content has been very good for you to learn about these new features. But remember, at apex@oracle.com, we do update the what's new, and we have the pre-release available to everyone right now today, where you can request a free workspace on apex@oracle.com and try it out. Kick the tires, try developing an application, try some of your previous applications that you've developed in this new release candidate and give it a try. If you have any issues, please use the apex.oracle.com/forum link or the official Oracle forum in the Apex category to post any concerns, any bugs you think you may have found, or anything like that you want to discuss. Beyond all that, I really appreciate it again, all the presenters for the time they put into putting their content together and being here today with everyone. So until then, next time, thank you, everyone. We're going to conclude today's office hours. Thank you. Have a great week.